nhớ rong cho phun như thế đó rong xia tại tao này sẽ tôi đã kịp tháp bên nó cú nhập pet nhiều và mang sang qua nhớ rồi episode bên nó cú mới tôi coi sang hàng ởตัว Tasmania ตัวในหัว Vue Thao nhớ rong ít trong phun như thế đó rong xia tại tao này tôi đã kịp tháp bên nó cú nhập pet nhiều và mang sang qua nó nói vậy nó rongขึ้นกับเราcú mới tôi coi sang qua để đấy là tầm chí này thì này tôi được cụ thể nó thằng này ba tại tao này nào cú đó là Vue Thao nhớ rằngเขาสิน้องเอื้อถามนะจะเอื้อถามว่าลูมีการมันจีนี่นะว่าตัวเพื่อกับติดใจหัวหาป้องจีน่ะแล้วเที่ยววิ่งคนสั่งไม่เชื่อใส่ตอก็ตัวเราเก็บทับไปนู่นนั่นน่ะอุทัยเนี่ยไปยาวถ่ายนี่นะลูในเจ็บไปถ่ายลูมีการมันจีเอื้อถามมันจีสั่งนี่นะหมวกหูนั่งย่อที่เที่ยวเสลียนั่นจีจะชวนเราว่าให้แล้วชวนเจอลูมีการที่จีthải con lùm mình cái con mũ dạ okay right okay I know that you are one of the 7 students right from the Colombo Plans student from Laos who came to study in Australia prior to the war in Laos in 1975 and you have been living in Hobart can you share with us some of your memory when you first came to Australia?
Yes, it was a long while ago, but I think it was quite a bit strange when we first came. I think the first thing we got to Melbourne was we met Jeff Burke, who's still alive now, and Jeff asked me. He sort of asked me, "Did you come here to die?" Really? He said, "Did you come here to die?"
Today, today.
But what I heard was that, "Did you come here to die?" And I said, "No, Mr. Burke, we didn't come here to die. We came here to study."
So what year was that?
That was 73.
73.
Yeah.
Right. Are you the last student that came to?
No, I was the second last.
Second last.
Yeah.
Oh, that was a long time ago there.
That was a long time ago.
And then what time you came in? You start university, or you started high school level?
We can do year 12, year 11, year 12 actually. Yeah.
Right. And what did you go further to university?
Yes, I went further to university. Actually, instead of going to university, I did go to university for 1 year, but I went to do agricultural science, and at that time was I think 75, beginning 75, and my vision was I was always wanting to do something to help my people. And I thought farming would be a good area to help them when I went back.
When you go back to Laos,
yeah, so I decided to do agricultural science. But on that year, the situation changed. Laos changed, and I thought that I wouldn't go back home anymore.
Right.
I said, well, that agricultural science would not be good for me anymore. So I changed to medical technology.
Oh, all right.
Instead, yeah.
So you graduated as a scientist?
As a scientist.
All right, good.
Yeah.
So I understand that you came here by yourself, but your wife and like your children were back in Laos. What went through your mind in 1975? With the transition of the war in there.
Well, it was very, very difficult. I think if you could bear that, then you can bear anything. I think when the situation happened, I think Pao and I were constantly talking on the phone almost every day about the situation there. And I was concerned about my wife and 2 little children.
Right.
I knew that they had fled to Thailand, but I had no contact. I could not contact them at all. I didn't know. Yeah, it was very difficult. And I rang the Australian embassy. No one answered there. I rang the Payatumi Li Feng's house.
Right.
Somebody answered the phone, but they said, "Well, we don't know who we're talking to, and we don't know anyone here."
Gee, that must be. Oh, you must come through some very difficult time, not knowing where about. Yeah.
Yeah, it was very difficult at first. It was not until I think somewhere, but 2 weeks later, when my wife wrote to me, not until the letter came to me.
All right, then
Yeah.
there must be a relief that at least they still, they were still
Yeah,
safe.
they wrote in time.
Yeah. So I understand your wife and your children were among the very first refugee that came to Australia. So,
Yes, they were probably, if I recollect correctly, she would probably be the first Indo-Chinese refugee to go outside,
Right.
including Vietnam, Cambodia, and Laos.
I heard some very good story that how your friends get together and then collect money and then bought a ticket. Can you share with us? Yeah.
Well, that was something which was in my mind, in my heart all the time, and I think that was one of the things that turned me into a good person. What happened was at the time things was very difficult.
Yeah.
I didn't know what to do because as being a young person, not knowing too much about politics, not involving in any politics in Laos. I had never been able to go to see a politician, and here in Hobart, I was alone, the only Hmong person, not knowing where to go. So I was thinking of what to do, and luckily, it was through luck. I just met a man, quite old. His name was Ken Howard, and he happened to rent a house,
Right.
and he had a vacant room. He wanted me to share with him. So, okay, I can share the room with you. So I did. And when I shared the room with him, I told him about my situation. He said, well, Mr. Thao, the only way you can do that is to see a politician.
All right. Then
I didn't even know how to go see a politician. Right?
So did he take you to?
And said, do you know one? He said, yes, I know one. I can arrange for you to see one. So he did. He arranged for me to see John Coates at the time, and he was a member of parliament in Canberra for Labor. He was a Labor parliamentarian. So I went to see him, and I told him about my situation. And he said, okay, I can help you. I can bring your wife and children to you, but she will not come here as a refugee.
Oh, right, okay.
She will come here as the wife of a Colombo Plans student.
But at that time, you weren't, you still have a Lao nationality.
Yeah, I still have a Lao nationality. We still carry Lao passport. Yeah. But he said, I can bring her here as the wife of a student, of an overseas student. And he said, what about my parents and relatives? He said, look, don't even mention them. Australia does not recognize that there's any refugee in that part of the world. So if you mention about refugee, then your chance is zero. You got nothing. Mm-hmm. So just go through the process of bringing your wife here as the wife of a student. And I said, well, but she's fled to Thailand. She's got no passport. He said, doesn't matter. I can arrange that for you.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, you were such a good man.
Yeah, I can arrange that for you. And I said, what about that airfare? He said, well, you have to come up with the airfare yourself.
So what did you do then?
Well, then I got stuck again, right? Because I got stuck with the airfare. So I went to school, and I then mentioned to my biology teacher, Mrs. Tyson. Mm-hmm. She was very good to me. She has always been good to me in class. So I thought she was the only one I could speak to.
So she actually get all your friends together.
Yeah,
and
I told Mrs. Tyson. I told Mrs. Tyson. I said, Mrs. Tyson, my wife has fled to Thailand as a refugee. I went to see John Coates. He said he would help me, but I had to come up with the airfare, and I had no money. I don't know what to do. She said, "Oh, if that's the case, let's go see the principal."
Oh, right. Okay.
So we went to see the principal, and she told the principal. She said, "We have to raise money for Vue Thao. His situation says." So he sort of agreed. He said, "Okay, that's the case. I'll leave it to you." and she was the one who organized everything.
Yeah. So eventually, you got the money,
Yeah.
and then
And eventually I got the money. I got over 2,000. So they give all of that to us. We only spent somewhere about 1,500 for the airfare to come over here.
So there must be a relief for you to
Oh
see.
yeah, that was a
Finally, you see your wife and the kid, together.
That's right. Yeah.
Yeah.
So that was amazing, and that's how I saw the Western people operated. They really put their mind
And the heart is
and the heart to work for you. And what really also admired me was that the number of the students in my class actually slept in the street with a tent in the street begging for money for me for
That must be
several nights.
Right. Yeah. Wow, that's great. Yeah. So what happened after your family arrived? Like in Hobart, and I think you're planning to get more people to come and settle in Hobart.
Yeah, that was a while back. At that time, because the situation was very strict, and like I said, we were not allowed to talk about refugee or people who have fled from Laos to Thailand at that time. But eventually, situation changed a little bit. The government allowed children to sponsor parents.
All right. So
Yeah,
like a family
only
reunion?
children and parents.
Okay.
So one day, I got a phone call from the Department of Immigration, and they said, "Vue Thao, you want to bring your parents over?"
Oh, right.
I said, "Can I?" And they said, "Yes, you can bring your parents, but no one else." I said, "How do I do that?" They said, "Well, you want to? We can bring them over, and you can fill the paper later." So that was very easy.
Oh, and then what family come and they just sponsor their family and
Yes,
so
and then I said, "Well, parents, when you talk about parents, what about my parents and my wife's parents? They both can come. They both can come." So I wrote to my family and choose side of the family, saying that at the moment all the younger ones were not allowed to come, but let the older one come and we will sorting out later on. So we decided to bring both Chu's parents and my parents over, and children under 18, they all can come as well. And that's why Sao and Chu and Ma,
so
they all came under my
sibling,
under my parents' sibling. And but Chu's parents, her brothers and sister did not agree for them to come without them coming.
So that's why they all went to the US.
That's why they went to the US.
Yeah. So what were some of the like the challenges that you're facing? When you first brought the Hmong refugee into Australia. What are the early challenges or troubles that they're having?
I think at first it was really the language. They really didn't know anything about the life in a Western society, and even the food to eat. They could not even eat any of the food that we had, and it was very difficult. But I think my parents set a very good example, because once we knew how to solve their problem, we could help the rest of the people who came. But when my parents came, it was not until about something like 2-3 years after, before the door was open
to the next
to the
lot.
refugee, to the next lot. And the next lot, they called family reunion. It was not until 2-3 years later. Right. At that time, we started to think about forming an organization. And that was the emergence of the Hmong Australian Society. At that time, there were not many people at all.
What year were you? I think
that was somewhere about 78. I can't remember properly, but it was
So that's when you established the Hmong Australian Society.
Then the Power and I, we were talking all the time, and when the government said, okay, now the doors are open for family reunion. Then we started to talk about forming an organization so that we could coordinate the Hmong in Australia, although there are only 6 of us.
So
It was only myself, Vang Ma here, Pao here,
Dr. Pao is second. Dr. Pao,
yeah, and Dr. Pao here, and then Li Chu in Canberra, Vang Za in Adelaide, and Dr. Li in Sydney, and then Molly.
So there
Molly
were
was here as well.
seven of you.
Just 7 of us.
Mm-hmm.
But on that meeting that we set we formed the organization, Vang Za didn't come. So I cannot remember seeing Li Chu. I don't think he came either.
Right.
So it was only.
So and all these 7 are the Colombo Plan, like the Hmong Colombo Plans students that were here before the refugee camp.
That's right.
Right, okay.
And also Molly. He came here as he actually came here. He was not a Colombo Plan student.
Right.
He came here to learn Christianity.
Okay.
And then the situation changed, so he just stayed back. And he joined us. And on that day, I think it was myself, Pao, Dr. Pao, Vang Ma, and Dr. Li, and Molly. Only 5 of us.
What was some of the goal? Did you set any goal like on that particular meeting?
Yes.
In 5 years, 10 years, that's what I heard that you guys actually came together and set some goal.
We did set a very concrete goal at the time. Our first goal was we would have to bring at least 1,000 Hmong to each state. And there were 3 states. One, to Sydney 1,000, Melbourne 1,000, Hobart 1,000.
And that time, how many Hmong people were living?
Virtually in Hobart at the time there was somewhere about, I think it was just my family.
Right.
Yeah, so very, very small.
Okay, all right.
And we set a goal to have at least 1,000 in each area, of each of the 3 areas.
State, yeah.
Because Li Chu was part of New South Wales. So we would consider Sydney and Canberra as one. Because Vang Za didn't come, we didn't know whether he would be interested, so we didn't really include Adelaide as part of the plan. Yeah. So I think that was a very basic, concrete plan that we had, minimum of 1,000 in each of the 3 areas.
Any other goal that you set apart from, you have 1,000 refugees in each state? What other plan the other goal you set for the Hmong back then? Well,
apart from that, at that time, because the number was very small, we really talked about education. We already planning about education, how to rehabilitate our people to make sure that they got used to the system here. And that they went into work into the workforce as soon as possible, and send their children to school. We set our goal to have a minimum grading of 2-year college for every kid. Now at that time we were setting that sort of goal.
And that was back in 1978.
Yeah, back in 1978, and that's kind of goal. Although we said it, we thought it was good, but we got backlash that we didn't know at all, And the backlash, it is interesting. If you hear about it, it is interesting. And the backlash was this, that it was like back in the 80s already, when a lot of Hmong people came, more Shui were already here, right? And we were very involved at the time because Moshe had 2 little kids, plus others have their children. And every time we had a meeting, we talked about education. We focused very, very much on education.
And the kids were just
about that time. and we say your kid will have to go to school at minimum two years college.
Usually, yeah.
So we thought that was very good, and in fact, what we had been telling them were fruitful in a way that those who listen to us, their children now have not actually finished college, finished university.
So,
most of them.
Yeah, so in other words, you're actually planting the seed on those parents and the kid that, they have to at least graduate, 2 years college.
Yeah, that's right. And you have to actually, you don't only influence the children, but you actually influence the parents as well.
Right.
You tell them exactly what they should do for their kid to go to college, to university.
And back then, did they listen to you? Or?
Well, many don't. But those who listen, their children go to university and finish university.
Right. Mm.
Yeah. Not all of them.
Right.
But yeah, many of them have finished.
Yeah.
And in 98, I think 98, 99, I met Moshua in Denver. And this is what I found out.
Right.
Moshua
Moshua came to Australia, right? Back
Moshua.
in 1976.
Somewhere about 80 something, 85, 86.
All right. And
Yeah.
then later, I think he moved to the US.
He moved to the US
Okay.
with Tapoya,
Yeah, okay.
the two of them went.
Yeah. Okay.
Right.
Yeah.
They were here and they were the first people who set up a fabric shop
All right.
to
Yeah.
sew clothes, right?
Yeah. Okay.
And then eventually they moved to the US. We didn't know
Mm.
why, but they sort of went to visit and they never came back.
Right.
So in 78, I think 78, 79, I met Moshua in Denver, and he was already a pastor.
All right. Okay.
Yeah, he went there, studied to be a pastor. So he was already pastor, and he was actually in charge of Colorado.
That's great. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think if he was still back in here, there would be a different story.
Yeah, it would be different story.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Now back into those here, right? What sort of governments lobby that you get the support from them? What sort of support you get from the government or to be able to bring more to the to Australia? Like you said that ago that at least you have to have 1,000 per state. So what's the next step? What did you do? Did you go and lobby more to the government?
Yeah.
Or?
At that time, you never know how hard it was. The government never turn to you. They never listen to you.
So what did you do?
No matter what you say, they never turn to you. So at the time, it was so difficult. We encouraged the 500 or so Hmong who live in Australia to encourage them to contact their relatives in Thailand and send as many names as possible to us, and we would try to sponsor them. Each time we would lodge in at least between 50 and 100 families to the Australian embassy in Bangkok to interview. Out of those, lucky we get 3, 4, 5 families the most.
So 5 families out
of 100.
100.
And we asked them why. They said they're not fit to come to Australia. We said, what kind of fitness do you want? They just said they're not fit.
I didn't go into detail.
No, they didn't go into detail. They said they're not fit to come to Australia. That was all. Eventually, we lost hope. We did not know what to do. And it was through Vang and Pao here and Dr. Pao in Melbourne.
Mm-hmm.
This was through their initiation. They started to talk to other organizations in Melbourne. And the organization suggested that we form a large organization, including the Cambodian, Vietnamese, Indian, Thai.
So you said that's how the Indo-Chinese Association
the Indo-China Association came about, right? Mm-hmm. They said the only way for you to have power will have to be more than 500 Hmong people. We've got to be a lot more. So that's why we formed the Indo-China Indo-Chinese Association or whatever, I can't remember properly. And when that happened, they were really hopeful they told us, they said, look, this time we will invite the immigration in Canberra to come and talk to us.
So they're like the head of the minister of.
He was not the minister, but he was actually the person who made the decision.
Okay.
Yeah, quite high up. We will invite that person to come as a meeting for the association, but in fact, we were not involved. We only you will only be involved.
Okay, all right.
We talking, right? So it was Powell and Dr. Powell and Vang who were talking to this officer for 2 hours before he released the information. The information was something like 3 or 4 or 5 of them. One of them, they said the reason why we didn't accept you people was because you were too primitive. When you came to Australia, you wouldn't go and chop our tree down. You would grow opium or sort of thing like that, which would not be appropriate for our country.
So
That's number one.
That's the reason.
Point number 2, you people were illiterate. You had no education. When you came here, you would not be able to work.
To fit into the what?
Yeah, you would not fit into our system. And number 3, we see the record in America. You people go to America, you do not work, you go and sit on welfare. So you do the same thing here in Australia. And number 4 was they said we did not have soldiers, we did not have any army in Laos, and therefore were not responsible for refugee. So something like that. I think there are 4 points. So then we knew, and we said, okay, we would try to correct those points. So after they heard about this, they talked, and we decided what to do. What we did was, in the first point of mongering opium, Dr. Powell came to Hobart and took picture of the opium in Hobart, Tasmania. And then we came to do our survey about the Hmong being illiterate and not fitting in this country. We looked at our record, and 95% of us were working.
At
that time, 95% of Hmong were working, and 90% of us got a house each. Compared to all the people in Australia, we were way up, including the Australian people that we were top. That was number 1. That we solved that problem, and the problem of the Hmong being in America and not working. We said, look, they did not break the law. The law said they could do that. So if they had no language, what else could they do?
That's true.
Yeah, they did not break the law. The law allowed them to do that. So that was what we tried to solve the problem. And the problem of Australia not having any soldiers in Asia, we could not solve the problem immediately. So we just left that. And then we had a conference. We had a conference, and we invited the people in Canberra to come and listen. That's why Paul showed a picture of poppy. And he said, yes, the Hmong grow poppy. And in fact, this poppy is taken in Tasmania. So
what was the reaction when you see the poppy? That actually, it wasn't from our hometown in Laos, but it was actually
from Hobart, Tasmania. Yeah. We had that sort of thing, and we had our record. We said our record was that we were 95% in employment and 90% of our own house. Compared to you guys in Australia, we better. In fact, after that, they sacked the officer who came to see us the first time. But that is that serious.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah.
Why? Because of his
mouth, they opened.
Right. Anyway, yeah. But yeah. So from then we know
and
that.
From then, we knew. And then the second lot in 87, 88, the situation changed. What we did, I think we did very clear, and we did quite well. And what we did at the time was that, okay, if there's any issue with number, then we'll focus in Victoria. Melbourne will do the number. And when the number's gone, then when you go to sort of a single people, then Tasmania will take care of it. The reason was because there were so many people in Melbourne. To be able to speak to the minister in a meeting, it was almost impossible. So we should get the number. And when we were talking to the minister in particular or somebody important, let those people go to Hobart. And there are less people there.
So everywhere there's a lot of more people.
Yeah. So less people there, and I would have more chance in contacting the people, the minister, right? And the situation changed in 78, I think, in 88. There was Mick Young. He was the minister of immigration. He came and he was talking. Eventually, when he finished talking, he said, anyone had a question? And I raised my hand and asked question. I said, Minister, I'm Vue Thao from, originally from Laos. I want to ask you if you can tell me the difference between the war in Laos and the war in Vietnam. From what I heard, you did not recognize that the war in Laos was part of the war in Vietnam. That's why you didn't accept our people to come to Australia. And Mr. didn't answer me. He said, wait until later and I come talk to you. So after he answered all the questions, he came. He said, what do you want, Mr. Thao?
So I think later on you become a good friend with him.
Yeah, what do you want, Mr. Thao? And I said, well, I just want to tell you that the war in Laos and the war in Vietnam was the same war. The Hmong were dying in Vietnam for you, in Laos for you. Without the Hmong being dead in Laos, a lot of Americans would have lost their life in Vietnam.
That's true.
And we were trying so hard to bring the Hmong to Australia, and you never approved. And he said, how many do you want?
So how many did you?
I said, we said 3,000, but we never got 3,000. Where are your people? I said, well, you never approved, so they're elsewhere in the camp. Go and find them. And the director of immigration was there, Elaine Maloney. Elaine Maloney was there. Elaine Maloney, make sure Vue Thao get his people.
That's great. Oh, and that is the history.
Yeah, that was history. And that's how more people could come easily.
That's right. Yeah, that's open the door, isn't it?
Yeah.
Now looking back, I know that you're one of the Hmong Australian leader, right? And someone who has been involved with the Hmong probably at the day one, right? Now for this year, right, it's our 45th anniversary of Hmong settlement in Australia.
Yeah.
Looking back, we have come so far, 45 years now. What do you think that we have achieved? What sort of things we have achieved? What are the things that we still need improvement? Yeah.
I think if we look at our record as being a Hmong person from the mountain of Laos and not knowing anything about politics, I think we have come very far. We have learned a lot. I think all what we have learned, I think we have passed on to the younger generation or to all other Hmong people. I don't know whether they have picked up what we have learned, but we have learned from the very hard way. For example, to be able to see a politician, to be able to communicate with them, to be able to walk to the office of immigration like Elaine Maloney. She was one of my mentors, although she was the director. I could just walk into her office any time of the day and ask her for anything. That sort of thing, it takes a lot of courage and a lot of learning. We have told our people all the time that if we want to survive in this country, we have to really be able to communicate with them properly, and we have to be able to make friends with them. We have to share their happiness and their sadness. So far, I think the Hmong have done very well, not in terms of being so wealthy, so rich, something like that, but they're so well off. They're not hungry. They have enough to eat. They have houses to live, they have cars to ride, but then I think they still don't know how to live in an Australian society. Now, let me give an example. This I only heard this. I don't know whether it's true or not. But I think 2 years ago, there was a very big flood in Queensland. Very big flood.
Mm-hmm.
And there were donations from everywhere, but there were none from the Hmong. And in that year, the Hmong would ask for money for New Year. This is what I heard. The reply from them was, "Oh, so you know when you need money.
But
When we're in trouble, we never see you. And now you come for money." You see, very, very painful.
So yeah, we have to.
Now it's bushfire, right? One of the biggest in Australia. We have to be able to share the sadness by contributing. No matter how much, even $1 is the gift to the bushfire. And we need to be able to do this. We need to be able to do this all the time, not only one time.
That's
To
true.
be able to live with them, to share this happiness and sorrow, we have to be able to live in this way.
That's very good. Okay, I know that you will select as one of the Australian of the Year in Hobart, right? Can you share with us a little bit about that?
Sure. Thank you very much for that. Yes, it was a great honor to be selected as one of the Australian of the Year in the year 2000. There were 200 in that year all over Australia, and I was one of them. I really didn't know why I was selected, because when I was selected, I actually went to the government office and I said, "Look, I don't deserve this. There are more people here, and there are other people who are supposed to receive it, but why me?" Right? And they said, "Well, there are people who are properly select you, so you should be entitled to what you're receiving."
Yeah.
It's just a government way of saying thank you for helping. And from that, they sort of told me what I did to help them. They said, "Without you, our job would be very difficult. You've done a lot of things to help us in any way you could." And from there, I remember anything like even seeing the Minister of Immigration and saying whether the war in Laos and Vietnam were the same or not. That was a great issue for them,
Right.
great issue for them. Also, during the Martin Bryant massacre in Port Arthur,
Right.
I was also involved in it.
Okay.
And that was quite interesting in a way. That actually what happened was the Minister of Ethical Affairs sent his director to Malaysia for a conference. And when she came back, she told me, she said, "Vue Thao, I went to Malaysia, and the Malaysian people saying that they're not coming to Hobart anymore. They're frightened of curse. They're frightened of curse. What do you think?" And I said, "Well, we got to do something." He said, "Well, I spoke to people and no one was interested in. Would you like to take this over?"
So what did you go and be
No. I said, "Yeah, if you let me, I do it." So I went to the minister. Right? I said, "Minister, we have got to do something because we depend on tourism." And the minister said, "Well, what do we do?" And told him, I said, "Look, we need to bring some spiritual leaders to come and clean this up." And he said, "You need money?" I said, "Yes, you need money to do that." He said, "Okay, I go to the Treasury Department, ask for money." He went there and he asked for money. They said no. Australia was not also Christian. We didn't believe that sort of thing. Right? Minister rang me. He said, "Vue Thao, I'm sorry, I couldn't get any money." I said, "Minister, would you let me do whatever I can?" He said, "Yeah, go ahead." So I went straight to the TV.
All right. Or television.
To television.
Okay.
He said, "I had a story to tell you." So I did. I told them the story. Also the newspaper. The next day, it was front page, right?
Oh, really?
7 o'clock in the morning, the Treasury Department rang me. "Mr. Thao, how much money do you want?"
I think that many Hmong people know this story.
No, I don't
it
think
wasn't
anyone
told
knew about
yet.
it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what actually did you do?
Well, what I did was I said I didn't know how much money I needed, but I need every spiritual leader, like a Muslim, a Buddhism, whoever is a leader, no matter how far they are, bring them all to put out there in one day, and they come do whatever they can to make sure that they're happy.
All right, so like a blessing ceremony.
Yeah, a ceremony.
Okay.
They say, okay, we do that, we absorb that. So they did, and one day they said, we're ready. Today, there's seven buses with all the people who want to go there for free. So
and the Hmong, I believe the Hmong take part.
Yeah, the Hmong took part in that too.
So what did the Hmong do? Like the shaman?
Yeah, just shaman who play that sort of thing.
So calling.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, so we got Buddhism, Muslim, quite a number of people. Doing a whole day in there.
So I think this is a fantastic story, and I don't think that many of the Hmong will know that.
Yeah.
All right, we are going to wind up very soon now. Thank you so much for your time, and I know that we have very limited time. Is there anything else that you want to share with us just before we go?
No, I think that's all. Thank you. If anything else, just let me know if I can come up with anything. I will share.
Thank you very much for your time.
Okay.
Right?
Thank you.
Okay.
Bye.
Thank you for watching. And if you like this video, please remember to leave your comments, share, like, and subscribe. And we'll see you next time. Thank you.